Could Nebraska really reach 4-0 before its bye week in this really cool schedule for them, setting up for what I think could be, once again, the start of a pretty good 2025? Let's talk about it. What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. If this is your first time watching Adapt and Respond, thank you for joining us. Here we talk college football year round. If that is something you're into, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, like this video, and answer the question in the comments below. Do you believe that Nebraska will win 8 games or more this year? If you do, we're probably on the same page here. So I'm doing this thing where, I go through the 136 as it is this year. We got a couple of new teams joining up, but also I start with Conference USA and MAC and work my way up. But as I'm doing that, I'm also gathering information about the teams that we expect to be in the top 100, in the top 50. And Nebraska's got an argument for being in both those spots, if not a top 25 team by their bye week. And that is in large part due to their schedule and their continuity. We're already having these real fringe conversations about who could be an unexpected member of the Heisman Trophy race come, say, week 5, and Dylan Raiola continues to pop up because he's quarterback, because he started as a true freshman. He's going into year 2. Dana Holgorsen seems to have something with him, and Holgorsen's offenses historically have been really, really good. And we're talking about a Nebraska team that has gone bowling for the first time in 8 years and probably should have won more games than it did last year, based on what we had seen. I mean, this is a team that really did play Ohio State pretty well. Now, Ohio State would tell you that it wasn't our best game, but that's what it takes sometimes, is a team over there that makes it not your best game. And I think now we know a little bit more about Matt Rhule. We know that that man is a program builder. That's his trade. But you're going to have a new defense coordinator with Tony White going to Florida State, new offensive coordinator, and you expect to give a couple more pieces to Dylan Raiola, but nothing that really jumps out at me. So what do they have going for them? Well, frankly, they've got their schedule going for them. At places all over the betting internet, right, from Vegas Insider to MGM, I'm finding out that there are, much of a consensus about where they're going to end up. 7.5 wins. And you could remember that taking that Tennessee game off the schedule seemed to help them in a way that many didn't like, because we like to see that Big Ten SEC game, that especially between two teams that we expect to try to challenge to get into that top tier, but not quite get there, especially going into this year with Nico Iamaleava going to UCLA. There's a tie-in down there as well. But also because this is a unique year in which Nebraska gets to try to make up some ground and make a little bit more money in this all-important time of you being able to count every single dollar that you can, because revenue sharing is here, because the price of coaches is going up. The price of players went from 0 to, in some places, upwards of $20 million. If you're thinking about 2024 Ohio State, who won the national championship, which is the standard bearer in the Big Ten Conference, where Nebraska defected nearly 15 years ago and has lost its way, right? That's the thing. My fear as an Oklahoma fan, my deepest, darkest fear, is not that I am inadequate, but that the SEC is powerful beyond measure. Because it didn't go well for Oklahoma in that year 1. Now, I think that Brent Venables is going to get this thing turned around. I think Ben Arbuckle, John Mateer are going to have a lot to do with that. But I also look at Nebraska and go, oh, man, talk about just mediocre for a program that has historically been great, right? Going back to 1972 with Johnny Rodgers winning the Heisman Trophy, Mike Rozier winning the Heisman Trophy, Tommy Frazier being one of the best to ever do it, and Eric Crouch even in 2001 winning the Heisman Trophy. Them and their option attack, their ability to run on you and play defense, their home field advantage that Dr. Tom gave them, that they aspired to. Nebraska football is the pro team in the state of Nebraska, right? Like, that's just what it is. And then I look at the schedule they put together. I go, man, did y'all put together a sweetheart schedule, if nothing else? So let's take a look at this and go game by game and see just how many W's I can put next to some of these. So to start, you've got Cincinnati. That's August 28th. That's at Arrowhead in Kansas City. I think that you got every opportunity to win that game because it is on a neutral site. I don't really see Cincinnati traveling better to Kansas City than I do Nebraska. Matter of fact, there are probably a bunch of Nebraska fans that call themselves Kansas City Chiefs fans because they're nearby and you don't have an NFL team. It's kind of like me being a Dallas Cowboys fan. That's nearby and I don't have an NFL team. outside of this particular state, as there's somebody knocking at the door. I'm not expecting anybody. We'll have to see who that is. They can come back. Next game we got to take a look at is Akron. I don't expect Akron to be no good, guys. I don't expect Akron to be no good. And I hate to say it this way, but like Joe Moorhead seemed like he might have found something, even going 4-8 last year. Why do I believe that? It's actually quite simple. I believe that because he had 8 guys off of that roster that are playing at Power 4 teams this year. So he was developing, and then what happens to many happened to him. A lot of those guys just went out the door. And when you take a look at just how bad Akron had been before him, winning 4 games in one season is actually a pretty big deal. But it's still Akron. It's still the Zips. And you have a ways to go before we expect you to compete with the likes of Nebraska football. So outside of that, I'm also looking at 2 wins. Now, the third win I got here is got to be, well, Houston Christian. This is a buy game. They're paying $500,000 to play Houston Christian in this game, and they're paying $500,000 to play them at Lincoln Memorial. And if you notice something, outside of Cincinnati, they haven't had to leave the state of Nebraska yet, right? So that's 3-0 for me if you win that Cincinnati game, and then you get Michigan at home. That's a winnable game for you. That's coming 2 weeks after they play Oklahoma, so we'll know everything we need to know about what Bryce Underwood is or isn't doing. We will also know just how good or bad Dylan Raiola seems to be. And I think when you're comparing true freshmen, his year last year, you're going to probably compare it to Bryce Underwood this year. That's a winnable game for you. You got a new offense coordinator in Chip Lindsey. They're turning over not just the quarterback, but the running back position might actually get better at the running back position with Justin Haynes. If you can keep him in check, you got every chance to win that game. And then you're 4-0 going into your bye week. That's pretty damn good. Off the bye week, you get a Michigan State team that wasn't very good last year. We don't expect them to be very good this year. That's 5 wins. At Maryland, maybe you falter. Maybe, right? But you could make an argument that they could win that game, given that they're also turning over the quarterback position at Maryland. So let's say 4-1 for the sake of argument there. At Minnesota, okay, maybe that's 2 losses, perhaps, depending on what you think about just how good PJ Fleck is at getting his teams ready to play in October, because that's when they seem to come to life down there with the Golden Gophers. So let's make that 4-2. Versus Northwestern, unless Preston Stone turns into a superhero, I think you ought to win that game. So that's 5-2. SC is at Nebraska this year. That's a game that they damn near won at USC last year. That's a game you can win, right? So now we're up to 6 wins. At UCLA, they got Nico Iamaleava, which is kind of like playing Tennessee, I guess, but we don't expect them to be that much better than Michigan State, that much better than Minnesota, that much better than Maryland. You can make an argument they get to 7 wins with 2 games left to spare here, right? So that's at Penn State. Most people would pencil that in as a loss, right? And then you got versus Iowa, depending on how good Mark Gronowski is. You could be looking at 9 wins. And if you're looking at 9 wins at Nebraska, you're going to take that. That's found money. I think this is a year where you take advantage of those 7 home games you're going to have. You take advantage of that tremendous Nebraska home field advantage. And you stay healthy. You get some really equal but bordering on elite play from Dylan Raiola. And we're not talking about 9 wins here, guys. Like, that's not hard for me to look at this way. It's also Nebraska. We want Nebraska to be good. College football is better when Nebraska's good. It's better when Oklahoma's good. It's better when Arkansas is good. These are programs where they are the pro team in the state, and they have tremendously large followings and truly passionate fans. And I've always wanted good things for Nebraska. Now's the time. Let's go get those good things for you in 2025.